It has been a hot minute since I have done anything related, even remotely, to Red vs. Blue here on the channel. First and foremost, I definitely want to say welcome back, hopefully, to those of you who have been waiting anxiously for the past 6 to 7 months since my last reaction wrapping up Season 7 of Red vs. Blue. I am Murder of Birds, also known as Arnold, and this video is dedicated to the rejuvenation of Red vs. Blue here on my YouTube channel. Over the next several weeks, and hopefully going into the next couple months, you guys will be getting a plethora of Red vs. Blue content pertaining to reviews and reactions to Seasons 8, 9, and 10. This video, of course, being my review to Season 7. So, the first thing that I want to say is I have since rewatched the entirety of Red vs. Blue. I want to be fresh with all the information in my mind going into Season 8, and obviously keeping the story intact and all of the events that have happened, just because it has been a massive gap, the biggest gap ever, of a disparity between where I last left off for Red vs. Blue and where I'm coming back in the last, like I said, 6 to 7 months. And for those of you who did watch my update video that I put out about a week ago, talking about, you know, where I've been in the last couple of months, what I've been focusing on the last couple of months, coming off of RWBY Volume 5, focusing on Twitch, and just getting back up to speed with a lot of the videos coming off of my hiatus that I was desperately needed. I do hope you guys understand, you know, everything of the past that I've been going through, and hopefully you guys look forward and trust me enough to understand that things will be getting back up to speed, and you guys will be getting the content that you subscribed for. Red vs. Blue is going to be coming back full force. Super excited for that. Again, I hope you guys understand. I hope you guys are excited to be back. And this video, of course, is going to pertain to my Season 7 thoughts, opinions, and overall review, because I didn't do one immediately after finishing Season 7 when I first watched it. I've seen Season 7 now twice, and this time seeing it again is a lot fresher in my mind, especially since, you know, it's been such a long time, and I've actually gone back, watched it, and picked up on some things that I didn't notice the first time I watched, which was really good too. So this is just going to be a general, you know, kind of thoughts and opinions video, just because I did do one for Season 6. I'm planning on doing one for Season 7, 8, etc., moving forward upon finishing a season. So I just wanted you guys to know about that. I also took a few notes here on Season 7, and it's kind of almost like a reiteration of what I mentioned throughout Season 7, because I did go back and even watch my reaction videos to kind of be like, what did I think about this scene when I first watched it? Because like I said, it's been a while. So a lot of those same thoughts and same opinions still stand to this day of where I last left off for RVB. And the first thing I want to mention is overall Red vs. Blue Season 7 by itself, not even, you know, standing with the rest of the other seasons, especially since it's right after Season 6, which Season 6, in my opinion, based on what I've seen so far finishing Season 7, is probably the most thrilling and the most action-packed, and probably the best in terms of suspense and excitement and just investment of everything coming together, especially since Bernie did such a great job of the first couple of seasons just being comedic and nothing really serious, and then all of a sudden, you know, especially with how the miniseries started, it flowed into a story that I was really excited to get into, especially around Out of Mind. And the way that it all came together and all of the callbacks made sense, it was really incredible to see Bernie's work and direction of it turning into from a sitcom to a somewhat serious story to a very serious story to where it's going now with freelancers and Epsilon and the UNSC and all of the struggles and power and tribulations and all that stuff that's happening. So the first big thing to mention is that Season 7 was directed by Gavin Free. So Gavin, obviously a really well-known person in the community, being a part of Achievement Hunter, a fan turned Rooster Teeth employee, which was pretty cool. And I don't know if this was the first time, like his first big hand or big moment, you know, as a contribution to the company. I did have to do a bit of research, but Season 7 came out in 2009. So I don't know when he got hired, but this was the first big part where Gavin directed a season of Red vs. Blue, and this was the first time that Bernie wasn't at the helm of Season 7, which I don't know if that was their plan moving forward, if Monty hadn't come on board and if Miles hadn't picked up at a certain point, how long Gavin would have gone through with it. But it seemed like this was kind of like a setup and a very melodramatic season for basically what happened with Season 6. You have the Alpha Church, you know, OG Church is gone. You know, all of the AIs were destroyed. The director of Project Freelancer was disbanded, and everything kind of ended up coming to a conclusion, so to speak. But then there was still more to tell, with Epsilon being in the picture still, Caboose being the only blue in the picture. Like I said, Church is gone. Tucker was nowhere to be seen, and it seemed like the focus was more on the Reds, and I think that's why it felt more nonchalant than ever, because the Blues have always been the team that have pushed the plot, right? Like, even since the early seasons, right? Like, the Blues have always been the ones that were at the center of the attention, and the Reds were the ones that were more of like the comedic relief, the shenanigans, like the bickering back and forth, like the times that, you know, we usually see of them. And the roles seem to be reversed up until Epsilon came into the picture and Tucker came back. So, you know, Griff, Sarge, and Simmons were always at the forefront as early as actually Relocated. The Relocated miniseries was where they actually started taking the forefront, as, like I said, Caboose was working on trying to figure out a way of getting Epsilon back and, you know, getting his old buddy back. So I thought that was really interesting, that it was a very Red-centric season, and it felt a little jarring at first because we've never really seen that. And I was wondering, what does Red versus Blue look like, number one, without Church? I had a lot of apprehension when I first started the season, because I thought to myself, well, Church has always been the center of attention, you know, whether it's Tex coming in and that being a part of his dynamic, whether it's him telling the Blues what to do, whether it's him kind of operating as a ghost and kind of making things happen on his own with, you know, the aliens and the freelancers and the you know, the AI, and him realizing that he's the alpha AI. Church was always an integral part of the story, and now that he's gone, I was wondering, I'm like, especially when he died, I thought to myself, I'm like, what does this show look like without Leonard Church? And it seemed like they managed to make it, you know, really satisfying and really enticing leading up, because, like I said, it seemed more like a setup to what is currently happening. So I would say it was a lot less plot, a lot more shenanigans. I think this is the funniest season of Red versus Blue thus far, especially going back and watching my initial reactions and rewatching it for myself. I laughed at the exact same jokes. I laughed just as hard, if not harder, at a lot of moments. Like when Lopez, and it was Lopez, Donut, and Simmons, and they were all going to try to deal with the meta in Valhalla, and Donut, it was like Lopez in front, Simmons in the back, and Donut was like, ooh, it's a donut sandwich. Like, I laughed just as hard when I watched it the second time that I did the first, and there was a lot of moments like that. And like I said, the Red team is the king of comedy for this show ever since the first season. Like, Griff and Sarge's bickering, Simmons and Griff's bickering, and obviously Donut coming into the mix, adding a lot of his enthusiastic ideals and personality into the mix. I think this is by far the funniest season, and I think the humor is what really carried the season along, because it's like, how do you can't really top season 6, so rather than try to do that, try to kind of elevate it in a different way, which is, season 6 didn't really have all that much comedy, because there was a lot of action, there was a lot of tension, there was a lot of revelations and reveals and whatnot. So the best way you can make up for that is kind of fulfilling what was lacking in previous seasons, which is humor, which I think this season hit pretty strongly. Another big thing, too, is characters that we haven't seen in a while. Donut was out of the picture for an entire season. Tucker was out of the picture for an entire season of season 6. Epsilon, obviously a new persona, kind of the evolution of Church, especially since seeing how things developed with the season 7 trailer of, Tex being dead, Church being dead, but their story not yet being over, even though they themselves are no longer alive. It's kind of like they've transcended. So while the Alpha Church is gone, we have Epsilon Church to pick up the slack. I don't really know, actually thinking about it now, I don't know what that means for Tex then. Because she was like, if we're not done, then let's get started. But unless Epsilon is supposed to be the continuation of her as well, because he is the memory, and part of that memory is the AI that she had, which was Omega. I don't really know how that works. I don't know if there's more to Tex, because I refuse to think that there's nothing left of Tex. You know what I mean? Or maybe her original self is still alive, just like the director of Project Freelancer. He might still be alive out there. So maybe we'll get that out. No, there's no way, because she died. Yeah, she died, which is what led to her AI being created by... Oh, wow. Yeah, so I'm kind of coming to a realization right here. So the season 7 trailer kind of made me think about it. It's like, okay, Epsilon is the evolution and ascension and transcendence of Church, but what did Tex mean by, let's get started, we're not done yet, we still have more to do, unless Epsilon is the answer for both of their stories not being completed or being ended or being cut short. So thinking about that right now, I'm going to hold that into my head for a little bit. But it's really great to see a lot of old characters coming back. Tucker, especially being, the same sexual deviant, having the sword being super badass in his introduction, coming back into the mix. I really like that. Obviously, Donut still being comedic relief, being really awesome and genuine and just overly enthusiastic about a lot of things he says. A lot of things he says comes off as homosexual, but I think that's what adds to the comedy and the charm of him. And it could very well be the fact that he's not gay. It's just the fact of he's just enthusiastically honest about what he says. So I thought that was pretty neat. And wrapping up from the story, at least, is how it started getting back into the serious factors was we kept going back and forth with Washington and understanding and figuring out that Washington's in prison, but Epsilon was never handed over to the UNSC, which was the agreement for the Reds and the Blues to get, or for the Reds at least, to get the base in Valhalla. So once he figures that out, he realizes, fuck, I'm still stuck in this situation. I've been lied to. I've been left for dead. I've been stabbed and shot literally in the back numerous times. And it seems like he's going to become a pseudo-antagonist right now, which I didn't take it as seriously when I first watched it, because I was thinking to myself, he was talking about all of this, he was just talking about, how he convinced, basically, the Alpha AI, OG Church, to, he's like, hey, you need to do this. We need you. And then to turn around and be like, well, that situation, okay, I got that job done. It almost seemed like it was a means to an end for him. It's like, I just want to convince this AI to do this thing so I can be done with it. And didn't really care about the affairs of how that would affect, the Alpha AI, how that would affect his friends, especially Caboose. And the fact that he realizes the Epsilon AI unit is still out there, goes to the UNSC chairman, tells him about it, teams up with Maine, the meta, and goes after all of these Reds and Blues that we know for the sake of just being done with it. He's like, I'm done. I'll do any, at this point, I feel like he's desperate. And I think he shot Lopez in the head, and he shot Donut. And I didn't rationalize it in my head because, again, Church was the first real death of the show, and death is a very foreign concept, at least up until recently. So if Lopez is really gone and if Donut's really dead, I'm gonna be absolutely devastated, because it seems like the ghost thing, with Tex and with Church, was never a ghost thing. It was because they were artificial intelligence, which means now anyone who gets shot, anyone who dies, if they go the way of South Dakota or something like that, literally getting burned and freaking bombarded with napalm and freaking fusion coils to the point of no trace of their body, at that point, that's the only way that death can really be accepted. And I just, again, the concept of death is still very foreign to me. I'm not used to someone dying and staying dead and being dead, especially in animation or especially in shows in general. So I just hope that those normal bullet wounds were just that. They were maybe wounds, maybe they'll be healed, they'll be better down the road. But as of right now, Lopez and Donut are kind of in the red for me, red flags of maybe they could potentially die. I'll be so dead, especially for Donut, right? He's been a crucial part of the show since I think season one actually, when he went to freaking look for headlight fluid for the tank. But yeah, I was really happy to see a lot of the characters that we haven't seen in at least the season since, I think, season 5, actually. The end of the Blood Gulch Chronicles. And now to actually get everyone back, I'm really happy to see how all that's going to come together. And again, the story's picking up again because Epsilon is seemingly going to be the main focus. I know Season 8 is the wrap-up of the Recollection trilogy, and then we get into Project Freelancer, which, again, Project Freelancer focuses on AI, probably going to focus on the Dr. Leonard Church, the director of Project Freelancer, the AI, the freelancers as well. And I actually did a little extra research, as you guys can see here, and I kind of kept tabs on all of the current known information and quote-unquote lore that we know about the AI, the the artificial intelligence, how each one of them correlates here to the alpha, and all of the known freelancers and their correlated AI and whatnot, because I feel like season 9 might be even in the past, because Project Freelancer in the present is disbanded. So we might find out about the origins of Project Freelancer, how that manifested. Maybe we'll see some AI and some freelancers that we haven't seen thus far, and learn about the origins of Project Freelancer and what led to its inevitable downfall by the end of it. And we might get a bit of the present, because, we don't even know where the director is. Like, he's probably still out there somewhere. He's no longer the director, but he's still known as Leonard Church. So I kind of want to see what the original Dr. Leonard Church looks like, how he, how he thinks, his personality and everything like that, especially compared to Epsilon and the Alpha AI as well. So obviously those two things are going to be I'm obviously going to be keeping tabs on all of those things moving forward, but obviously those are my general thoughts. And season 8, I think the last thing that I can really say about this season entirely is that it was more of a setup. The best way I can explain season 7 is that a lot happened, but at the same time nothing happened. Nothing really happened until we got to the desert, until we got Epsilon Church in the little orb, and kind of setting up for how things are going to play out with Agent Washington, with Maine, with Epsilon, how all that's going to come together, and what's going to be waiting for us during Project Freelancer, which season 7 is still the last season that we have to get through, which is the next season that we're going to be getting into for my reactions, and that is the era of Monty Oum, which I am still kind of wrestling with emotions right now, because this, obviously, as you guys all know, Monty Oum passed away a couple years ago, and this is going to be kind of like I'm going into the past. This seasons 8, 9, and 10 were directed by Monty, officially when he was on board as director of Red vs. Blue, and this is where we really see him shine. This is where Monty made a name for himself in the industry, in terms of the industry of Rooster Teeth, and what led to the upbringings of what eventually became RWBY, and why it kind of revolutionized Rooster Teeth as a company, Red vs. Blue as a series, and what paved the way for RWBY down the road. And it's going to be incredible. I already know it's going to be an emotional ride for me, not just to see the action and the animation and the choreography that is Monty, especially if RWBY's any indication, and if any of his other series like Dead Fantasy, Haloid, Milacon, if any of those are any indication, because it's going to be like he's still around, and it's going to be like I'm seeing his work. This is the big thing too, is that this is going to be the last thing that I see that Monty touched and Monty worked on. And because it's in the past, you know what I mean? It's gonna be something. I like I said, I'm still trying to brace myself and cope with it, but I feel like the second I see it, and the second that I feel his presence, and I feel and I see the choreography, and I'm just gonna think Monty, and it's gonna be bittersweet, because everyone else has already experienced this, and again, it's gonna be another thing that I'm gonna experience. I'm just gonna be like, I wish I was able to see it when it happened. I wish I was able to talk to Monty and thank him and just be like, praise him for the work that he did, because if it's anything like people have been hyping up, right? Season 6 is amazing. Season 7 is melodramatic. Seasons 8, 9, and 10, people regard those 3 seasons as the best seasons of Red vs. Blue. And I think a big part of that could be a tie-in between the story and, more importantly, Monty's flair and, his innovation to how he changed the game when it came to the series. So my reactions will be starting for Red vs. Blue Season 8 next week. Those are overall my kind of general thoughts. There isn't really much to add in terms of like my thoughts on the lore and everything, because like I said, I feel like most of that I got out of the way as I was watching the seasons, but I kind of wanted to do a somewhat formal version of these reviews, similar to how like I did it with Season 6, and I'm going to be doing it again, like I said, with Seasons 8, 9, 10, etc., as we catch up to Red vs. Blue, which also, Season 16 recently came out this year, so hopefully you guys who are still watching RVB and still enjoying my Red vs. Blue videos are enjoying that on your end. But yeah, Red vs. Blue Season 8 reactions for episodes, I believe 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going to be coming out this time next week. I'm gonna have some sort of ETA that most likely will go up either on Wednesday or Thursday, and you guys will be getting one of those videos every week. And then upon completion of a season, the video that you'll get following that before we get into the next season is going to be a season review. So after I finish my reactions to season 8, the following week will be a season 8 review, and then the week after that will be season 9. Unless there's any like theory videos that I want to make, like I did with the whole AI and church thing. So yeah, those are overall my thoughts on season 7. It was, like I said, a very not really serious season, but it was still one that was filled with comedy, filled with excitement, just because of we're getting a lot of our old characters back, and overall setup for what's going to be coming in season 8, which I'm really looking forward to. It's going to be also the wrap up of the Recollection trilogy, so another end to another trilogy, another section in the overall story. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys are excited to be back. Leave your thoughts of what you guys thought about my review, my opinions, what you guys thought of the season when it came out, when you watched it, all that stuff in the comment section. And I will see you guys next week for season 8 reactions to Red vs. Blue. Take care.